Imagine a quiet mechanic in a small mountain town, a single father, dedicated to his son and his simple life. Now, picture a wealthy young woman fleeing a world of control and expectations, desperate for freedom. When their worlds collide, a hidden legacy is uncovered, a powerful family is challenged, and an unconventional bond is formed. But as secrets unravel, both are forced to ask, how far would you go to protect the life you've built and the people you love? This is A Hidden Legacy, a story of resilience, love, and the power of choosing your own path. Join us as we dive into this heartfelt journey that will tug at your emotions and leave you inspired. If you're ready for a tale filled with unexpected twists, profound lessons, and a dash of romance, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you won't miss a moment of this unforgettable story. Let's begin. A single dad helped a woman fix her car. His true identity as a billionaire left her stunned. Jack adjusted the brim of his worn-out baseball cap as he wiped his hands on a grease-stained rag. The sound of tools clinking against the workbench filled the quiet, sunlit garage. His small auto repair shop stood at the edge of the sleepy town of Silver Ridge, nestled against the Colorado mountains. Life was simple here, predictable, steady. For Jack, this routine was a sanctuary, a way to raise his 8-year-old son, Ethan, without complications. Ethan, an energetic boy with a head full of untamed curls, burst into the garage, carrying 2 sandwiches wrapped in paper towels. "Dad, lunchtime," he announced, his voice echoing off the metal walls. Jack smiled, reaching out to ruffle his son's hair. "Thanks, buddy. Did you make these?" "Of course," Ethan replied proudly. "Peanut butter and jelly. Extra." "Oh, jelly. Just how you like it." As father and son shared their humble meal, a car screeched to a halt outside. Jack's gaze shifted toward the entrance as the door to a sleek black sedan opened. A young woman stepped out, her heels clicking against the gravel. She was striking, tall, elegant, with auburn hair pulled into a neat bun. But it was her eyes that caught Jack's attention. They were shadowed with fear and exhaustion. "Excuse me," she called, her voice steady but with a tinge of urgency. "Is this the repair shop?" "It is," Jack said, standing and brushing crumbs off his shirt. "What seems to be the problem?" The woman hesitated, glancing over her shoulder as if expecting someone to follow her. She cleared her throat. "My car broke down about a mile back. I managed to get it here, but it's making strange noises." Jack nodded and walked over to inspect the car. "Pop the hood, and I'll take a look." As Jack worked, Ethan approached the woman, holding out a juice box he'd been saving. "You look thirsty," he said with a kind smile. She blinked, clearly caught off guard by the boy's gesture. "Thank you," she murmured, accepting it. Ethan tilted his head curiously. "Are you okay? You look kind of sad." "Ethan," Jack called gently, "why don't you grab another sandwich for our guest?" The woman exhaled a shaky laugh, touched by the boy's innocence. "He's sweet," she said softly. "Yeah, he's got a good heart," Jack replied without looking up, his hands deftly examining the engine. As Jack finished his initial assessment, he wiped his hands on his rag and stood upright. "You got a timing belt issue. It's not a quick fix, but I can get it done by tomorrow." The woman's face fell. "Tomorrow? I can't wait that long." Jack studied her for a moment. "You're welcome to stay in town. There's a small inn just down the road. Quiet, safe." She hesitated again, her polished demeanor cracking ever so slightly. "Thank you," she said, though her voice lacked conviction. Ethan tugged at Jack's sleeve and whispered, "She seems scared. Should we help her more?" Jack crouched down to meet his son's gaze. "We'll do what we can, buddy." Turning back to the woman, Jack softened his tone. "Look, if you're in some kind of trouble, you don't have to face it alone. This town's got good people. You'll be safe here. Her eyes met his, searching for any sign of deceit. All she found was sincerity. For the first time in what felt like days, she allowed herself a small nod of trust. As they settled into a more casual conversation, Ethan, ever curious, asked, "What's your name?" "Anna," she said, offering a faint smile. "I'm Ethan, and that's my dad, Jack. He can fix anything," Ethan declared proudly. Anna's smile widened, but it didn't reach her eyes. She glanced at Jack, who was back under the hood of her car. "Your son's quite the talker," she said. "He keeps me on my toes," Jack replied, his voice warm. Anna lingered near the car, fiddling with the strap of her handbag. "You're very kind, both of you. It's not something I'm used to." Jack glanced up, his expression neutral but curious. "Well, kindness doesn't cost a thing, and sometimes it's all someone needs to get through the day." Her gaze dropped to the ground, her grip tightening on her bag. Jack noticed, but didn't press. He had learned long ago that everyone had their battles, and some wounds needed time before they could be shared. As the afternoon sun dipped lower, Jack finished inspecting Anna's car and gave her an estimate for the repairs. Anna thanked him, her voice quieter now, as if the weight of her situation was finally catching up to her. Ethan, sensing her unease, grabbed a small bouquet of wildflowers from the patch near the garage and handed them to her. "These always make me feel better," he said. Anna knelt down to meet Ethan's eyes. "Thank you, Ethan, you're a very kind boy." As she stood, Jack spoke again. "Anna, whatever you're running from, just know that you're safe here." She looked at him, startled. "How did you—" "Call it a hunch," Jack said simply. As Anna walked toward the inn Jack had suggested, she glanced back at the garage. Jack and Ethan were still there, Ethan waving enthusiastically while Jack gave her a small nod. For the first time in days, Anna felt a flicker of hope, but her heart remained heavy, knowing that the shadows of her past were not far behind. Anna sat at the corner table of the small inn's dining room, her hands wrapped around a steaming cup of tea. The soft murmur of conversation and the occasional clinking of silverware filled the room, yet her thoughts were miles away. Every glance toward the door sent a shiver down her spine. Her heart raced with every creak of the floorboards, her mind replaying the same haunting question: what if they find me here? The warmth of the tea seeped into her fingers, but it did little to calm her. As she stared out the window, the soft patter of footsteps drew her attention. Ethan approached, his grin wide, holding a small notebook and a pencil. "Hi, Anna. Want to see my drawings?" he asked, sliding into the chair opposite her without waiting for an answer. Anna blinked, startled by the boy's confidence, then smiled faintly. "Sure, Ethan, show me what you've got." Ethan flipped open the notebook, revealing crude but heartfelt sketches of cars, mountains, and what appeared to be a tall man with curly hair. "That's my dad," he said, pointing proudly to the stick figure holding a wrench. "He can fix anything." Anna chuckled softly. "He sounds like a superhero." "He kind of is," Ethan replied earnestly. After she went away, Dad did everything for me. He works hard, every day, and never gets mad, even when I mess up." Anna's smile faltered as she caught the faintest flicker of pain in Ethan's voice. "Your mom, she's not around anymore." Ethan shook his head. "She passed away when I was little. I don't remember much, but Dad says she loved us a lot." He paused, studying her intently. "Do you have someone who takes care of you? Like my dad takes care of me?" Anna froze. The question cut deeper than she expected. "No," she admitted softly. "Not really." Ethan tilted his head. "Why not? Everyone should have someone who looks out for them." "It's complicated," Anna replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "My family. They care more about what people think of us than about how we feel." Ethan frowned, clearly puzzled by the idea. "That doesn't sound fair." "It's not," Anna agreed, surprised by her own candor. For a moment she let herself relax, drawn in by the boy's disarming honesty. As they spoke, Jack entered the room, carrying a toolbox and wiping grease from his hands. His gaze softened as he saw Ethan chatting animatedly with Anna. He approached the table, his expression curious but calm. "Ethan, are you pestering Anna?" Jack teased gently. "Nope, we're just talking," Ethan replied, undeterred. "Did you know her family's super unfair, Dad?" Jack raised an eyebrow, his attention shifting to Anna. "Is that so?" Anna hesitated, then nodded. "He's not wrong. My family, they have a way of making decisions for me, whether I agree or not." Jack pulled out a chair and sat down, his presence steady and grounding. "Sounds like a tough situation." Anna sighed. "They've arranged a marriage for me, to someone I barely know, let alone love. It's all about business for them, a way to secure partnerships and expand their influence." Jack didn't react immediately. Instead, he leaned back slightly, his expression thoughtful. "And what do you want?" The question caught Anna off guard. I don't know," she admitted. "I've spent so much time doing what they wanted that I never stopped to think about what I wanted." Jack nodded slowly. "That's not an uncommon feeling, but it sounds like you've already taken the first step by coming here." Anna looked down at her cup, her fingers tightening around it. "It doesn't feel like enough. They won't stop until they find me. And if they do—" Her voice trailed off, heavy with fear. Ethan reached across the table and placed his small hand over hers. "Don't worry. My dad always says problems are like broken cars. You just need the right tools to fix them." Anna couldn't help but laugh softly, despite the tears that threatened to spill. "Your dad's a wise man." Jack smiled faintly, glancing at his son. "He's got a way of simplifying things, doesn't he?" Anna met Jack's gaze, finding a surprising sense of reassurance there. His calm demeanor, paired with Ethan's innocence, made her feel something she hadn't in a long time. "Safe. You're both kind," she said softly. "I'm not used to that." Jack shrugged. "Kindness doesn't cost anything, and sometimes it's all someone needs to make it through." For the first time since arriving in Silver Ridge, Anna allowed herself to breathe deeply. The weight on her chest felt slightly lighter, though the shadows of her past still loomed large. As the evening settled in, Jack stood to leave. "We'll finish up your car tomorrow. In the meantime, get some rest. Things always look a little clearer in the morning." Anna nodded, watching as he and Ethan walked out together. She felt a flicker of hope, but it was tempered by the gnawing fear of what might come next. The morning air in Silver Ridge was crisp, carrying the faint scent of pine trees from the surrounding mountains. Jack stood outside his garage, sipping coffee from a dented thermos, his eyes scanning the horizon as though reading the day ahead. Inside, Ethan was humming a tune while organizing a toolbox, his cheerful energy filling the otherwise quiet space. The rumble of a truck interrupted the peace, and Jack turned to see a familiar face climbing out. It was Tom, an old acquaintance and former colleague from a life Jack had left far behind. "Jack Walker," Tom called, striding over with a wide grin. "You're the last person I thought I'd find in a place like this." Jack's grip on. His thermos tightened ever so slightly, but he forced a relaxed smile. "Tom, it's been a while." Tom clapped him on the shoulder. "Too long. What's it been, 5 years? 10? Still fixing things, I see, though I never pegged you for a small-town mechanic." Jack's expression didn't falter, but there was a tension in his posture that Anna, standing nearby, couldn't miss. She was there to check on the progress of her car, but now found herself an unintentional observer of this exchange. "Life as a way of changing your plans," Jack said simply. Tom chuckled, glancing around the modest garage. "That's for sure. But I remember you at the helm of those big meetings, running the show. You had the kind of presence people couldn't ignore." Jack's jaw tightened briefly before he replied. his tone even. That was a long time ago. Tom seemed oblivious to Jack's discomfort and continued. You know, people in the industry still talk about you, the man who walked away. It's like some kind of legend now. What made you do it anyway? Jack shot a glance at Anna, who quickly pretended to be engrossed in her phone. Priorities change, he said firmly, signaling the end of the topic. What brings you here, Tom? Oh, just passing through, Tom said, finally catching Jack's tone. Thought I'd drop in when I saw the name on the sign. Couldn't believe it was you. Well, now you know, Jack replied with a faint smile that didn't reach his eyes. Take care, Tom. As Tom drove away, the weight in the air was palpable. Jack turned back to his work without a word, but Anna couldn't shake the feeling that there was much more to this quiet man than she had initially thought. Later that day, while Jack was engrossed in repairing Anna's car, Ethan took it upon himself to entertain her. He brought out a box of old photographs, plopping it down on a workbench. These are some pictures of me and Dad, he said proudly. Want to see? Anna hesitated, unsure if this was a boundary she shouldn't cross, but Ethan's eager expression made it hard to refuse. The photos were a mix of candid shots. A young Ethan with chocolate smeared on his face, Jack teaching him how to fish, and a rare image of a smiling woman, Ethan's mother. But what caught Anna's attention were the pictures of Jack in a suit, standing in what appeared to be a lavish office. This one's my favorite, Ethan said, pointing to a photo of Jack holding a small trophy. That's when he won a big business award. I don't really get what it was for, but Mom said he was super important back then. Anna studied the photo, noting the confident posture and sharp gaze of a man who seemed worlds apart from the quiet mechanic she knew now. Your dad looks different here, she said carefully. Ethan nodded. Yeah, but he's happier now. He says we don't need all that fancy stuff as long as we have each other. That evening, Anna lingered at the garage as Jack locked up. She leaned against the doorway, watching him with curiosity. Your son told me a little about you, she said, breaking the silence. Jack glanced up but didn't stop what he was doing. Did he now? He showed me some photos, she continued. You looked different, important. Jack chuckled softly, shaking his head. Kids see things in their own way. What they remember isn't always what matters most. But it's true, isn't it? Anna pressed gently. You had a different life before this. Jack finally met her gaze, his eyes steady but guarded. Everyone has a past, Anna. The real question is whether it defines who you are now. His words hung in the air, heavy with unspoken meaning. Anna wanted to ask more, but something in Jack's tone made her stop. He wasn't ready to share, and she didn't want to push him. As Anna walked back to the inn, her mind was a whirlwind of questions. Jack's calm demeanor and deliberate words hinted at a story far more complex than he let on. Who was he before Silver Ridge, and what could have driven him to leave it all behind? Anna sat by the window of her room at the inn, her hands clasped tightly around a warm mug of coffee. The peacefulness of Silver Ridge had begun to seep into her bones over the past few days, softening the constant tension in her shoulders. But today, unease crept back in. Something felt wrong. She glanced out the window and froze. Two unfamiliar men, both dressed in dark suits, stood near a car parked across the street. They weren't locals. Everything about their stiff demeanor and sharp gazes screamed business. Her stomach churned. She had seen enough of her family's hired enforcers to recognize the type. The Maxwells had found her. Anna's mind raced as she stepped away from the window, her hands trembling. She paced the room, trying to calm herself, but the thought of being dragged back into her family's clutches made her feel trapped all over again. She needed help. She needed Jack. Throwing on her coat, Anna left the inn through the side door, carefully avoiding the men's line of sight. She hurried down the quiet street to Jack's garage, her breath coming in short, panicked bursts. When she arrived, Ethan was outside trying to balance a soccer ball on his knee. He stopped mid-attempt when he saw her. "Anna, you look—" He hesitated, noticing her pale face. "Are you okay?" "I need to see your dad," Anna said, trying to steady her voice. Ethan nodded and led her inside, where Jack was bent over an engine, his sleeves rolled up and grease smudged on his forearms. "Anna?" Jack straightened, immediately noticing her distress. "What's wrong?" "They found me," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "There are men outside the inn. I think my family sent them." Jack's jaw tightened, and he wiped, his hands on a rag, his movements deliberate. "All right, stay calm. Let's figure this out." Jack closed the garage door, turning to Ethan. "Buddy, I need you to stay in the back and keep an eye on the road. If you see anything unusual, let me know right away." Ethan nodded, his usual playfulness replaced by a focused seriousness. That surprised Anna. Jack turned to her. "Did they see you leave?" "I don't think so," she replied. "I took the side door and came straight here." "Good," Jack said, his tone steady and reassuring. "If they're here for you, they'll probably check the inn first. That gives us some time to act." Anna hesitated. "I don't want to put you or Ethan in danger. Maybe I should just—" "No," Jack interrupted firmly. "You're not going anywhere alone. We'll handle this." Ethan suddenly appeared from the back room, holding a pair of binoculars he had dug out from a dusty shelf. "Dad, I see them. 2 guys in suits looking around the inn." Jack nodded, already forming a plan. He handed Ethan his phone. "Call Mr. Grady at the sheriff's office and let him know we've got some strangers acting suspiciously near the inn. Tell him it might be a trespassing situation." Anna blinked. "You know the sheriff?" "In a town this small, everyone knows everyone," Jack said with a faint smile. "Grady's a good guy. He'll help keep things under control." Ethan, eager to help, dashed to the back room to make the call. His determination and composure in the face of danger left Anna both impressed and comforted. Within minutes, the men from the inn began making their way down the street, clearly searching for Anna. Jack motioned for her to stay hidden behind the counter while he stepped outside, his expression calm but unyielding. "Can I help you, gentlemen?" he asked as they approached the garage. One of the men, tall and broad-shouldered, glanced at Jack before replying curtly, "We're looking for someone, a woman. Have you seen her?" Jack crossed his arms. "A lot of people come through here. You'll have to be more specific. She's about this tall red hair," the other man added, his tone sharper. "We were told she might be staying nearby." Jack shrugged. "Haven't seen anyone like that. This is a quiet town, most. People passing through don't stick around long." The men exchanged glances, clearly unconvinced. "If you see her," the taller one said, "you'd do well to let us know." Jack held their gaze, his voice steady. "And you'd do well to respect the people in this town. We don't take kindly to strangers stirring up trouble." As the men retreated, Jack stepped back inside, locking the door behind him. Anna emerged from her hiding spot, her face pale but resolute. "You didn't have to do that," she said. "Yes, I did," Jack replied. "No one deserves to be treated like a pawn. Not by them, not by anyone." Ethan returned, grinning triumphantly. "Mr. Grady's on his way. He said he'll keep an eye out for anything suspicious." Anna looked between Jack and Ethan, overwhelmed by their willingness to stand by her. For the first time in days, she felt like she wasn't fighting alone. As Anna sat down to catch her breath, Jack leaned against the counter, his expression thoughtful. "This isn't over," he said quietly. "If they've come this far, they'll be back. You need to decide how far you're willing to go to stand up to them." Anna met his gaze, a flicker of determination lighting in her eyes. "I'm tired of running," she said. Anna sat in the garage, watching Jack work on her car. The rhythmic clinking of tools and Jack's steady focus made the space feel calm and safe, a stark contrast to the chaos she had left behind. Yet A nagging curiosity about Jack's past lingered in her mind, especially after their recent confrontation with the Maxwell men. As her eyes wandered around the garage, something caught her attention. Tucked away on a dusty shelf was an old leather-bound binder with a faintly embossed logo, Walker Holdings. Anna's breath caught. The name was familiar, too familiar. It was one of the largest business empires in the country and a direct competitor to her family's Maxwell dynasty. What was it doing here? She pulled the binder off the shelf and flipped it open, revealing neatly arranged documents, meeting, notes, and photos. One picture stopped her cold. There was Jack, wearing a crisp suit, standing confidently at a podium, his name displayed prominently behind him. Jonathan Walker, CEO of Walker Holdings. "Jack," Anna called, her voice trembling. Slightly, Jack glanced over his shoulder from where he was tightening bolts on her engine. "What's up?" Anna held up the binder. "Is this yours?" Jack froze, the wrench slipping slightly in his hand. He set it down carefully, wiped his hands on a rag, and walked over. Taking the binder from her, he flipped through the pages, his face unreadable. Finally, he looked at her, his blue eyes steady. "Yes," he said simply. "You're Jonathan Walker," Anna said, her voice barely above a whisper. "The Jonathan Walker?" Jack let out a quiet sigh, nodding. "I was, a long time ago." Sensing her disbelief, Jack gestured for Anna to sit. He leaned against the workbench, arms crossed, and began to speak. "I grew up in a world where money was everything," he said. Walker Holdings wasn't just a company. It was an empire built by generations of my family, and from the moment I was old enough to walk, they made sure I knew that it would all fall to me one day. Anna listened intently, her initial shock giving way to fascination. For a while I thought that's what I wanted. I worked hard, climbed the ladder, and eventually became CEO. On the surface, it looked like I had it all. Money, power, respect. But the truth? He shook his head, his expression darkening. It was empty. Every decision we made was driven by greed. We didn't care who we hurt, as long as the profits kept rolling in. Jack paused, his gaze distant, as if reliving those moments. The breaking point came when my wife, Lily, passed away. Suddenly, none of it mattered. I looked at Ethan, barely a toddler, and realized I didn't want him growing up in the same toxic environment that had shaped me. So, I walked away, left it all behind, and came here. Anna sat silently, absorbing Jack's words. The weight of his sacrifice hit her harder than she expected. He had turned his back on unimaginable wealth and power to give his son a better life. "But how?" she finally asked. "How did you just leave?" Jack gave her a small, wry smile. "It wasn't easy. I knew my decision would hurt people, family, employees, investors. But I also knew that staying would destroy me. Walking away was the hardest thing I've ever done, but it was also the most necessary." Anna's thoughts drifted to her own life. The control her family wielded over her, the suffocating expectations. They weren't so different from what Jack had faced. But unlike Jack, she had always felt powerless to resist. "You're braver than I am," she said quietly. Jack shook his head. "It's not about bravery, Anna. It's about deciding what kind of life you want to live and being willing to fight for it." As Jack's story sank in, Anna began to see parallels between his journey and her own. The immense pressure from their families, the expectations to conform, and the fear of breaking free. They were all too familiar. "You made it sound so simple," she said, a touch of bitterness in her voice. "But my family, they don't just let people go. They'll do whatever it takes to keep control." Jack nodded. "So will mine, if they ever find out where I am. But I've learned that their power only works if you let it. They can't control you if you stop playing by their rules." For the first time, Anna felt a flicker of hope. If Jack could walk away from an empire as vast as Walker Holdings, maybe, just maybe, she could find a way out too. "I never thought I'd meet someone who understands," she admitted. "But you've lived it." Jack's expression softened. "You don't have to do it alone, Anna. Sometimes all it takes is one person to remind you that you have a choice." Her chest tightened at his words. It wasn't just the reassurance she needed. It was the belief that she wasn't trapped forever. That night, as Anna returned to the inn, she couldn't stop replaying Jack's story in her mind. It was a revelation that both shocked and inspired her. If he could sacrifice everything for a better life, could she find the courage to do the same? But in the back of her mind, another question lingered. What would happen if her family discovered the truth about the man who was helping her? The peaceful rhythm of Silver Ridge was shattered early in the morning when Anna received an ominous message. The innkeeper, a kind woman named Martha, handed her a folded note with a concerned look. "This came for you," Martha said, her voice quiet. "Two men dropped it off and asked me to deliver it. They didn't seem like the friendly type." Anna's hands trembled as she unfolded the note. Written in bold, harsh letters, it read, "We know where you are. Come home before we have to take action. This is your last chance." Her stomach churned as fear washed over her. The Maxwells weren't just looking for her anymore. They had found her. Anna rushed to Jack's garage, the note clutched tightly in her hand. She found him leaning over a car, his movement steady and deliberate despite the early hour. "Jack!" she called, her voice shaking. He looked up immediately, his brow furrowing when he saw her expression. "What's wrong?" Anna handed him the note, unable to find her voice. Jack read it carefully, his face hardening. Without a word, he placed the note on the workbench and turned to her. "They're here," she said finally, her voice barely above a whisper. Jack nodded. "Looks like it, but don't worry, we'll handle this." Anna shook her head. "Jack, this isn't your fight. I don't want you or Ethan getting hurt because of me." Jack stepped closer, his tone calm but firm. "Anna, listen to me. You don't have to face this alone. They might have power, but that doesn't mean we can't outsmart them." Jack quickly formulated a plan. He called Sheriff Grady, an old friend who had a reputation for fairness and a no-nonsense approach to the law. "Grady, I need a favor," Jack said over the phone. "We've got a couple of strangers in town causing trouble. Can you send someone to keep an eye on the inn?" Grady didn't hesitate. "Consider it done. I'll head over myself." Next, Jack tapped into his past connections, making a call to an old colleague from Walker Holdings who still owed him a favor. Though Jack had left that life behind, he hadn't completely severed ties. "I need some information," Jack said. "The Maxwell family. Can you find out what their next move might be?" The voice on the other end agreed without question, a testament to the respect Jack still commanded, despite his departure from the business world. By mid-afternoon, the Maxwell family's hired men returned to Silver Ridge. This time, they didn't. Look, they came directly to the garage, their intentions clear. Jack stepped outside, his posture relaxed but his eyes sharp. "Gentlemen," he greeted, his voice steady, "what brings you back?" "We're here for Miss Maxwell," the taller of the two said bluntly. "You know where she is. Hand her over and we won't have any problems." Jack crossed his arms, unfazed by their aggressive tone. "Funny thing about problems," he said. "They have a way of finding people who don't belong here." The shorter man took a step forward, his hand twitching as if he were considering making a move. "You don't want to make this harder than it needs to be. Just tell us where she is." Jack didn't budge. "This is a small town. People notice when outsiders show up looking for trouble. The sheriff's already been informed, and I'm sure he'd love to have a chat with you." The men exchanged uneasy glances, clearly caught off guard by Jack's calm confidence. "You think you're clever, don't you?" the taller man sneered. "No," Jack said evenly. I just know how to deal with bullies." At that moment, Sheriff Grady pulled up in his patrol car, stepping out with an air of authority. "Afternoon, gentlemen," he said, tipping his hat. "Heard there's been some trouble." The men stiffened, their bravado wavering. "No trouble here, Sheriff," the taller one said quickly. Grady's sharp eyes scanned them. "Good. Then you won't mind leaving town now." The hired men exchanged looks, then turned and left without another word. As their car disappeared down the road, Grady turned to Jack. "You've got a way of attracting excitement," he said with a smirk. "Just trying to keep the peace," Jack replied. Inside the garage, Anna watched the scene unfold through the window. When Jack returned, she let out a shaky breath. "They're gone," she said, relief and guilt warring in her voice. "For now," Jack corrected. "They'll be back. People like them don't give up easily." Anna's shoulders slumped. "I don't know if I can keep doing this. Running, hiding, it feels hopeless." Jack placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "It's not hopeless. You've already taken the first step by leaving. The next step is deciding how far you're willing to go to take back your life." Anna looked up at him, her eyes filled with uncertainty, but also a spark of determination. "I'm tired of being afraid," she admitted. "Good," Jack said with a small smile. "Because fear is just another tool they use to control you, and you're stronger than that." As the sun set over Silver Ridge, Anna sat outside the garage, staring at the horizon. The fear in her chest hadn't disappeared, but it was now accompanied by something else. Resolve. The quiet of the morning in Silver Ridge was a stark contrast to the storm of thoughts in Anna's mind. She sat by the window of the inn, a legal pad in front of her, filled with scribbled notes and underlined phrases. For the first time in years, she wasn't just reacting to her family's demands, she was planning her own steps forward. Her conversations with Jack replayed in her mind, particularly his calm but firm words. "Fear is just another tool they use to control you. And you're stronger than that." His belief in her strength was something she hadn't dared to see in herself. But now, sitting with a cup of coffee and a head full of determination, she felt a flicker of hope. "Morning, Anna." Ethan's cheerful voice pulled her out of her thoughts. He bounded into the room, carrying a basket of freshly picked wildflowers. "Look what I found," Anna smiled, setting her pen down. "Those are beautiful, Ethan." "Thank you." He placed the basket on the table, then sat across from her, studying the legal pad with exaggerated seriousness. "What are you working on?" Anna hesitated, then decided to be honest. "I'm trying to figure out how to make sure my family can't control me anymore." Ethan frowned. "That sounds hard, but my dad says anything is possible if you make a good plan." Anna laughed softly. "Your dad is a very wise man." Ethan nodded emphatically. "Yep, and I'm pretty smart too. Want me to help?" His innocent confidence made Anna laugh again, and for a moment the weight on her shoulders felt lighter. Later that day, Anna visited the garage, where Jack was tightening bolts on an old pickup truck. He looked up as she approached, wiping his hands on a rag. "You look like you've been thinking hard," Jack said, gesturing to the legal pad she was holding. "I have," Anna admitted. "I'm trying to figure out my next steps. I can't keep running, but I also can't let them pull me back." Jack nodded, leaning against the workbench. "Have you thought about legal options? Restraining orders, cutting financial ties, anything that makes it harder for them to reach you?" "That's what I've been researching," Anna said. "But it feels overwhelming. They have lawyers, connections, resources. I'm just one person." Jack's gaze softened. "So was I once. But you'd be surprised how much you can do when you're clear about what you want. It's not about fighting their power head-on. It's about finding the cracks in their armor." Anna tilted her head, intrigued. "How did you do it, when you walked away from your family?" Jack exhaled, his expression thoughtful. I didn't. Try to win their game. I changed the rules. I cut ties completely. No money, no contact, nothing they could hold over me. It wasn't easy, but it gave me my freedom. Inspired by Jack's advice, Anna decided to take a bold step. She pulled out her phone and scrolled through her contacts, stopping at a name she hadn't called in years. Rachel Hayes, her college roommate and one of the few people who truly knew her. Rachel had become a successful attorney, specializing in family law. If anyone could help Anna navigate the tangled mess of her family's influence, it was her. With a deep breath, Anna pressed the call button. The phone rang twice before a familiar, upbeat voice answered. "Anna Maxwell, is that really you?" Rachel exclaimed. "It's me," Anna said, her voice shaky but determined. "I need your help." As Anna explained her situation, Rachel listened intently, asking questions and offering preliminary advice. By the end of the call, Anna felt a sense of clarity she hadn't experienced in years. "We'll figure this out," Rachel assured her. "But Anna, you need to be ready. This won't be easy." "I am," Anna replied, surprised by her own conviction. "I just want my life back." After hanging up, she sat quietly for a moment, letting the weight of her decision sink in. It wasn't just about escaping her family. It was about reclaiming her independence and building a life on her terms. That evening, Anna joined Jack and Ethan for dinner at the garage. The simple meal of grilled chicken and vegetables felt like a feast, accompanied by Ethan's animated storytelling and Jack's steady presence. "You seem lighter," Jack observed as they cleared the table. "I think I've taken the first real step," Anna admitted. "I called a friend, someone who can help me legally. It's just the beginning, but it feels like progress." Jack nodded approvingly. "That's good. Sometimes, taking that first step is the hardest part." Ethan grinned, holding up a piece of paper with a crude drawing of a superhero. "This is you, Anna. You're like a superhero fighting bad guys." Anna laughed, touched by his gesture. "I don't know about that, Ethan, but thank you." "You are," Ethan insisted. "You're brave." As Anna lay in bed that night, staring at the ceiling, she felt a mix of hope and apprehension. She had started to build a path forward, but the road ahead was uncertain. Still, for the first time in a long while, she believed she wasn't alone. The sound of the garage door shutting echoed through the quiet space as Jack set down his tools and leaned against the workbench. Anna stood nearby, her arms crossed tightly over her chest, watching him with a mix of concern and curiosity. She could sense that something weighed heavily on his mind. "Anna," Jack began, his voice steady but low, "there's something I need to do, and it's going to change things." She furrowed her brow. "What do you mean?" Jack exhaled deeply, as if steadying himself. "The Maxwells aren't going to stop coming after you, not unless we level the playing field. It's time I stopped hiding." Her eyes widened as the meaning of his words sank in. "You're going to step back into the public eye," Jack confirmed. "As Jonathan Walker." Anna shook her head, panic flickering in her expression. "Jack, you've worked so hard to leave that life behind. Why would you risk it now?" "Because it's not just about me anymore," Jack said, his tone calm but resolute. "It's about protecting you, Ethan, and this life I've built. The Maxwells thrive on power and fear, but I have resources they can't ignore. If I reclaim my position as Jonathan Walker, I can challenge them directly." Anna hesitated, the enormity of his decision sinking in. "But won't that put you and Ethan in danger?" Jack offered a faint smile. "It's a risk, yes, but sometimes the only way to protect what matters is to confront the threat head-on." The following morning, Jack made a series of calls. His first was to Michael Porter, a trusted former colleague who had served as his right-hand man during his time as CEO of Walker Holdings. "Michael," Jack said when the familiar voice answered, "it's been a while." "Jack?" Michael sounded shocked. "Or should I say Jonathan? I thought you disappeared off the face of the earth." I did. Jack admitted, but I need your help. There's a situation that requires me to step back into the spotlight. I'm reclaiming my role as Walker Holdings' heir. There was a pause before Michael replied. You know that's going to shake things up, right? The business world hasn't been the same since you left. I'm counting on it, Jack said, his voice firm. But this isn't about business. It's personal. Michael agreed to help, promising to rally support from allies who still respected Jack's leadership. The calls continued throughout the day, each conversation bringing Jack closer to re-establishing his influence. News of Jonathan Walker's return spread quickly through the business world. Former competitors, allies, and even journalists began to take notice. Rumors swirled about why the once reclusive heir had chosen to resurface after years of silence. At the garage, Jack maintained his usual calm demeanor, but Anna could see the weight of his decision in the tension around his eyes. Despite her lingering doubts, she couldn't deny her admiration for his resolve. "Do you ever regret leaving it all behind?" she asked one evening as they sat outside, watching Ethan kick a soccer ball in the yard. "Never," Jack said without hesitation. "But sometimes life gives you reasons to revisit the past. This is one of those times." Anna looked at him, her chest tightening with emotion. "You're doing all of this for me and Ethan. I don't know how to thank you." "You don't need to thank me," Jack said simply. "We're in this together." A week later, Jack made his first public appearance as Jonathan Walker at a high-profile charity gala in Denver. The event was a fundraiser for underprivileged communities, a cause Jack had always supported during his tenure at Walker Holdings. Dressed in a tailored suit, Jack moved through the crowd with the confidence of someone who had never left the world of wealth and influence. But there was a difference now. His focus was clear, his purpose unshakable. Anna, who had accompanied him reluctantly, felt out of place in the glittering venue. But as she watched Jack speak passionately about the importance of using resources for good, she began to see why so many people had once looked up to him. "He's impressive," a voice said beside her. Anna turned to see a man with sharp features and an icy demeanor. Recognition hit her like a bolt of lightning. It was one of her family's representatives. "What are you doing here?" she demanded, her voice low but sharp. "Observing," the man replied smoothly. "The Maxwells are very interested in Mr. Walker's sudden reappearance. But you should know, Anna, this changes nothing. You still belong to us." Anna's heart pounded. But before she could respond, Jack appeared at her side. His presence was commanding, his gaze locking onto the Maxwell representative with quiet intensity. "She doesn't belong to anyone," Jack said, his voice cold as steel. "And if the Maxwells think they can intimidate her, or me, they're in for a rude awakening." The Maxwell representative smirked, but said nothing more, disappearing into the crowd. As the night wore on, Anna couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning of a much larger confrontation. Jack, meanwhile, remained steadfast, his presence at the gala sending a clear message. Jonathan Walker was back, and he wasn't afraid to challenge those who sought to harm the people he cared about. Jack sat at his kitchen table, the dim glow of the overhead light reflecting off the polished wood. In front of him lay a stack of papers, financial reports, proposals, and invitations to meetings from Walker Holdings. Each one seemed to demand his attention, pulling him closer to the life he had left behind. He rubbed his temples, exhaustion evident in the lines on his face. Across from him, Anna watched in silence, her cup of tea untouched. She had grown accustomed to Jack's quiet strength, but tonight she could see the strain etched deeply into him. "You've been at this for hours," she said softly. "Why don't you take a break?" Jack looked up, his eyes meeting hers. "I'm trying to figure out what the right move is," he admitted. "Reclaiming Walker Holdings might give me the leverage we need against your family, but..." He trailed off, gesturing toward the papers. "This world, this fight, it's everything I walked away from for a reason. Anna leaned forward, her voice gentle but firm. "Jack, no one's forcing you to go back to that life. You've already done more for me than I ever could have asked. Whatever decision you make, it should be what's best for you and Ethan." The next morning, Jack drove into Denver for a meeting with the current board members of Walker Holdings. As he entered the sleek, glass-paneled building, whispers followed him. Employees and executives alike stopped to stare, their expressions a mixture of curiosity and awe. "Mr. Walker," one of the board members greeted him, extending a hand. "It's been a long time. Your return has certainly caused a stir." Jack shook his hand, offering a polite but reserved smile. "Let's get to the point," he said. During the meeting, the board presented him with a proposition: return as the full-time CEO of Walker Holdings. They argued that his leadership would restore the company's reputation and bring stability in the face of recent market challenges. "We need you," one of the board members said. "Walker Holdings was at its best under your guidance. The business world would welcome you back with open arms." Jack listened carefully, his expression unreadable, but inside a storm was brewing. The weight of their expectations clashed with his memories of the life he had chosen to leave behind. That evening, Jack returned home to Silver Ridge, his mind heavy with the implications of the day's discussions. After putting Ethan to bed, he joined Anna on the porch, where she sat wrapped in a blanket, gazing at the stars. "You're quiet tonight," she said, as he sat down beside her. Jack sighed, resting his elbows on his knees. "The board wants me to come back as CEO. Full time. They're convinced it's the only way to move forward." Anna turned to face him, concern in her eyes. "What do you think?" "I think it's a trap," Jack admitted. "The more I get pulled back into that world, the more I risk losing what matters most. Ethan, this town, the peace I've found here. I can't let all of that go." Anna reached out, placing a hand on his arm. "Then don't. Jack, you've already proven that you don't need their world to make a difference. You've done more for me and Ethan than they ever could. Trust yourself to make the right choice." The next day, Jack sat in his garage, watching Ethan play with a toy car he had been fixing. His son's laughter echoed through the space, grounding him in a way that nothing else could. "Dad," Ethan said, looking up from his toy, "are you gonna have to leave again?" Jack's heart tightened. He crouched down beside Ethan, ruffling his hair. "No, buddy, I'm not going anywhere." Ethan grinned, his faith in his father unwavering. "Good. I like it here, and I like having you home." Jack smiled, the final piece of his decision falling into place. 2 days later, Jack stood at a podium in front of a packed room at a press conference. Journalists buzzed with anticipation, eager to hear the reason behind his sudden return to the public eye. Jack adjusted the microphone, his gaze steady as he addressed the crowd. "Many of you know me as Jonathan Walker, the former CEO of Walker Holdings. Years ago, I left that life behind to focus on what mattered most, my family and my values. Today, I stand before you to make one thing clear. I will not be returning to the corporate world." The room erupted in murmurs, but Jack raised a hand, silencing the crowd. "Instead, I am redirecting Walker Holdings' resources toward initiatives that create meaningful change. Education, healthcare, community development, these are the areas that need our focus, not profit margins. Effective immediately, I will oversee the establishment of a charitable foundation to ensure these goals are met." As the audience absorbed his words, Jack felt a sense of liberation. He had taken back control of his narrative, choosing a path that aligned with his values rather than the expectations of others. Back in Silver Ridge, Anna watched the press conference from the inn's common room, her chest swelling with admiration. Jack's courage to stand by his principles, even under immense pressure, was nothing short of inspiring. When he returned later that evening, she greeted him with a smile. "You did it," she said simply. Jack shrugged, though a small smile tugged at his lips. "I just did what felt right." "You made a statement," Anna countered, "not just to the Maxwells, but to everyone. You reminded them that power doesn't have to come at the cost of integrity." The small garage was unusually quiet, save for the rhythmic ticking of cooling engines and the occasional rustling of papers. Jack sat at his workbench, going through a stack of documents related to the charitable foundation he had announced. The recent press conference had ignited a flurry of responses, from supporters and skeptics alike, but Jack remained focused on his vision. Across the room, Anna watched him from where she sat with Ethan. The boy was busy coloring in a book, his tongue poking out in concentration. Despite the tension lingering from the Maxwells' looming threat, the atmosphere in the garage felt strangely calm, almost hopeful. "Do you ever stop working?" Anna teased gently, breaking the silence. Jack looked up with a small smile. "Not when there's work to be done. This foundation isn't going to build itself." Anna walked over, her expression curious as she glanced at the papers in front of him. "What exactly are you planning?" Jack leaned back in his chair, gesturing to the documents. "The foundation's goal is to focus on real, tangible changes. Scholarships for kids in underprivileged communities, healthcare programs, rebuilding infrastructure in struggling towns like this one." Anna raised an eyebrow. "That's ambitious." "It has to be," Jack replied. "If I'm going to use Walker Holdings resources, I want it to mean something. I've spent too long seeing money used to hurt people. It's time it does some good." Anna nodded, impressed. "You really believe you can make this work, don't you?" Jack's gaze softened as he looked at her. "I believe it's worth trying. Just like I believe you can find your way out of your family's grip. It's not about guarantees, it's about doing what's right." Their conversation was interrupted by Ethan's voice. "Look, Anna." He held up his drawing, a colorful depiction of the three of them, standing in front of a big building labeled Walker Foundation. Anna laughed, taking the drawing from him. "This is amazing, Ethan. You're quite the artist." Ethan grinned. "That's us helping people. Dad always says helping is the best thing we can do." Jack chuckled. "I don't remember saying it exactly like that, but he's not wrong." Anna looked at the drawing again, her heart warming at Ethan's simple yet profound optimism. "You know, Ethan," she said, "you have a way of making everything seem possible." "Because it is," he said matter-of-factly. Later that evening, as the sun dipped below the mountains, Anna found herself sitting on the porch of the inn, her phone in her hand. She scrolled through her contacts until she reached Rachel Hayes's name. Her finger hovered over the call button for a moment before she pressed it. Rachel answered almost immediately. "Anna, hey! How are things going?" "I've made a decision," Anna said, her voice steady despite the nerves fluttering in her chest. "I want to move forward with cutting ties with my family. Legally, financially, everything." There was a pause on the other end. Then Rachel's voice came through, firm and supportive. "That's a big step, Anna, but it's the right one. I'll help you every step of the way." "Thank you," Anna said, her chest loosening as the words left her mouth. For the first time, the idea of severing ties with her family didn't feel impossible. It felt empowering. That night, Jack found Anna sitting outside, the cool air brushing against her cheeks. He handed her a cup of tea and sat down beside her. "You look lighter," he observed. Anna smiled faintly. "I made the call. I told Rachel I want to move forward with everything." Jack's expression softened. "That's a big step." "It is," she agreed. "But I think it's the only way I'll ever really be free." Jack reached over, placing a reassuring hand over hers. "You're stronger than you give yourself credit for, Anna. You've already come so far." Their eyes met, and for a moment the weight of the past few weeks seemed to dissolve, replaced by an unspoken understanding. As they sat together, the peaceful moment was interrupted by a vibration from Jack's phone. He picked it up, and read the message, his jaw tightening. "What is it?" Anna asked, her voice tinged with concern. "It's from Michael," Jack said, referring to his former colleague. "The Maxwells are regrouping. They're planning their next move." Anna's stomach dropped, but she forced herself to remain calm. "What does that mean for us?" Jack set the phone down, his expression resolute. "It means we need to be ready. Whatever they're planning, we'll face it together." As Jack and Anna prepared for the challenges ahead, Ethan ran out to join them, his laughter cutting through the tension. Anna watched him play, a renewed sense of determination building within her. The morning sun bathed the town of Silver Ridge in a golden glow, casting long shadows on the mountains as life began to stir. Inside the garage, Jack, Anna, and Ethan were immersed in their own flurry of activity. Stacks of documents, charts, and letters were spread across a workbench, each representing a piece of their shared vision. Jack stood at the center, his sleeves rolled up, speaking to Anna about the next steps for the foundation. Anna, now radiating confidence and purpose, listened intently, occasionally scribbling notes. Ethan, ever the optimist, sat nearby, drawing colorful logos for the foundation, his laughter punctuating their conversation. For the first time in what felt like forever, Anna felt like she belonged, not to a family bound by control, but to a home built on trust and mutual care. That peace, however, was soon interrupted. Jack's phone buzzed with a message from Michael. "The Maxwells just filed an injunction to freeze your foundation's assets. They're trying to force a meeting to negotiate Anna's return." Jack read the message aloud, his jaw tightening. Anna paled, her hands trembling slightly. "They won't stop, will they?" she whispered. Jack placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "No, they won't. But neither will we." Later that day, Jack called a meeting with key allies, including Sheriff Grady, Michael, and Rachel, Anna's attorney. They gathered in the garage, turning the space into an impromptu war room. Maps of Silver Ridge, legal documents, and plans for the foundation covered every surface. "They're trying to disrupt everything we've built," Jack said, his voice steady but firm. "But we're not going to let them." Rachel spoke next, her tone resolute. "Anna, the legal groundwork we've laid will hold. If they push too hard, it'll backfire. They've overplayed their hand." Michael added, "And Jack's influence is already shaking their position. The business world is starting to take notice of their tactics. Public opinion isn't on their side." Anna listened to their words, feeling a surge of determination. She wasn't alone in this fight anymore, and for the first time, she believed they could win. The following week, Jack and Anna agreed to meet with the Maxwell family's representatives in a neutral location, a small conference room in Denver. The atmosphere was tense as Anna entered the room alongside Jack, her head held high. Across the table sat two of the Maxwell's top lawyers, their expressions cool and calculating. They wasted no time in delivering their ultimatum: return to the family fold or face ongoing legal and financial ruin. Anna straightened, her voice calm but firm. "I'm not coming back. Your control over me ends here." One of the lawyers smirked. "You think you can stand against the Maxwell family? This little rebellion of yours won't last." Jack, who had been silent until now, leaned forward. "You underestimate her and me." His voice was cold and commanding. "Your threats don't scare us. Every move you've made has only exposed your greed and desperation. You've already lost." The lawyers exchanged uneasy glances, realizing the strength of the united front before them. After hours of tense negotiation, they finally conceded. Anna was free. Back in Silver Ridge, the atmosphere was electric with celebration. The garage became a gathering place as friends and allies came together to mark their victory. Anna stood amidst the crowd, overwhelmed by the warmth and support surrounding her. Ethan ran up, holding a new drawing. "Look, Anna, this is you, Dad, and me at the foundation opening." Anna knelt down to admire the colorful picture. "It's perfect, Ethan. You're a great artist." Jack joined them, placing a hand on Ethan's shoulder. "He gets it from his mom," he said softly. Anna looked up at Jack, their eyes meeting in a moment of unspoken understanding. "Thank you," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "For everything." "You don't have to thank me," Jack replied. "We're a team now." As the evening wound down, Jack and Anna found themselves alone on the porch, the cool mountain air wrapping around them. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the stars. "You've given me a life I never thought I could have," Anna said, quietly. "A real family." Jack turned to her, his expression tender. "You've given me just as much. You've reminded me what it means to fight for what matters." Anna smiled, a soft laugh escaping her lips. "So, what happens now?" Jack chuckled, leaning back in his chair. "We keep building, one step at a time, and see where it takes us." Their conversation trailed off into a shared smile, their bond deeper than words could express. That night, Ethan sat at his desk, writing a letter to his late mother. His words were simple but heartfelt. "Dear Mom, I wish you could see us now. Dad's building something amazing, and we have Anna with us too. She's like the family we didn't know we were missing. I think you'd like her. We're happy, and I know you'd be proud of Dad. I miss you, but I feel like you're still here with us in a way. Love, Ethan." The next morning, as the sun rose over Silver Ridge, Jack, Anna, and Ethan stood together on the porch, looking out at the horizon. Their future was still uncertain, but it was filled with promise, one built on love, resilience, and shared purpose. This final chapter ties up the major story arcs while leaving room for interpretation, delivering a satisfying conclusion filled with emotional resonance and positivity. Let me know if further refinements are needed. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey. Before we dive deeper, we'd love to know, where are you watching from? Drop your location in the comments below, and let's see how far this story is reaching. If you're enjoying A Hidden Legacy and want to hear more inspiring tales like this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. It's the best way to stay connected and ensure you don't miss the next chapter. Your support means the world to us, and we're so grateful to have you here. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode.